Hello again. Since the publication of the inquiry into the death of black teenager Stephen Lawrence, which was more commonly known as the Macpherson Report, police forces in Britain have frequently declared themselves to be institutionally racist and promise that this will change. That phrase, institutionally racist, first became familiar to the average person when the Macpherson Report came out in 1999. It's lifted straight from critical race theory ideology, of course. A quarter of a century later, and yet another senior officer has repeated the mantra. Gavin Stevens, the chair of the National Police Chiefs Council, says that black people should no longer experience disproportionate use of force. In the description to this video, I give a link to the report in the Guardian newspaper, which reports in detail on his views. It seems that black people are 5 times more likely to be subjected to the use of force than white people during an arrest, and this is explicitly stated to be the result of racial discrimination. Is this true, though? It is certainly true that force is used more often on black men when they are having dealings with the police than other ethnic groups. But might there be another explanation for this, something other than racism, which might explain what is seen? One factor which might play a part in this is the fact that black men are more than 10 times more likely than white men to be suffering from psychotic illnesses. Psychosis is the most serious form of mental illness, and one definition is that those with such conditions are unable to distinguish between the real world and their own delusional thoughts. This can present hazards, of course, and if someone is in the grip of a psychotic episode out in public and wandering in the streets, it's quite possible that they will come into contact with the police and that the police will try to prevent them from behaving in certain ways, and that can end up with the person either being sanctioned or arrested for certain offences. So extraordinarily marked is the difference between psychotic episodes in black men and white that a few years ago the British government decided it would be tactful to stop publishing breakdowns of this kind based upon ethnicity. In the description of this video, I give the official figures for the disparity in psychotic illnesses between ethnic groups in this country. It will be seen that roughly 0.3% of white people in a year are diagnosed with a psychotic disorder. For black men, the figure is 3.2%. This means that roughly one black man in 30 whom you meet in the street is likely to suffer from schizophrenia or some other psychotic disorder, but that for white men the figure is 1 in 300. I wonder how many of those watching this video were aware of this discrepancy. This isn't the whole picture though, because of course cultural background can affect the way that such illnesses manifest themselves. For instance, some people will react to a psychotic episode by turning inward and withdrawing from the world, or perhaps turning anger towards themselves and attempting suicide. In other cases, the urge will be to direct hostile and negative feelings outward, and this can of course present as aggressive behaviour. I mentioned a while ago, for example, that almost without exception, stabbing sprees in this country are carried out by either fanatical Islamists or black men who are suffering from paranoid schizophrenia. Extreme cases like this are rare, of course, but disturbed behaviour which comes across as threatening is a lot more common. If, as the figures suggest, black men are between 10 and 11 times more likely to display the symptoms of a psychotic disorder, then this might go some way towards explaining the fact that the use of force against black men is far more common than it is against white men. So that if you take it as being true, and this is what the figures suggest, that 1 in 30 black men walking the streets might be subject to a psychotic episode in the course of a year, that's going to give you quite a few people behaving strangely. It will give you people who are perhaps more out of touch, 10 times more likely to be out of touch with reality than white men are. Now, this is going to attract the attention of the police. Either they might start accosting people or behaving in ways that are dangerous to other people or dangerous to themselves, and the police get involved. It's not, of course, the full picture, but I haven't the least doubt that it is at least part of what is observed.